Hey everyone, this is a video about all of the stuff that's going on, all the shootings that are going on right now, that we're being made aware of, the black men who are being killed in this country. There is a large component that is being left out of this that I feel like I need to discuss, and it's called socioeconomics. I thought this was rather obvious and it didn't even be brought up, and I've brought it up in other videos, but now I'm going to just make a video about it by itself. One of the reasons that the inner city, quote unquote, which are filled with African Americans and minorities and poor people, poor white people, more poor white people than any other group because we're 70% of the population, 72% of the population. One of the reasons this is going on in the black community particularly is because of the high unemployment rates with black youth, and because of the high incarceration rates, and because of a unbelievable lack of opportunity that exists inside the inner cities. This has been going on. Reaganomics, I had friends who grew up in the Bronx and in New York and in Boston and other places, and in Los Angeles and in Chicago and in Florida, big cities in Florida and in the South. And Reaganomics, and they were all African American, by the way, almost all of them, a couple of them not. Reaganomics destroyed them. Reaganomics destroyed the inner city. It took away all the social programs that were available to black people. There weren't a ton available, but there were social programs available. The government was there to help more. It bailed in the 80s. And really, it started in the late 70s and really escalated into the 80s and 90s. Then you started policing for profit, and you can thank Reaganomics largely for this and Ronald Reagan for this. And then Bill Clinton, who incarcerated more black men than even Reagan did, I believe. I believe it's in the same ballpark. I mean, those two are tied for. And somebody brought up Bill Clinton's his midnight basketball stuff the other day. One of my subscribers and I laughed. I'd forgotten all about. I always found midnight basketball to be so goddamn racist. Hey, all these black kids need is just get a ball. These black boys, they're just bored. No, they're socioeconomically deprived, and they have nothing. They have no jobs. You really think some black youth wants to be a fucking cocaine dealer? You really think they want to fucking deal crack cocaine on the corner, risk getting a felony so they can never get a good job, risk getting shot, do you think they want to live like that? Largely, some of them don't have a choice. And now with the immigration policies like they are, it's even more difficult to get a job or find a job for people that are in this country, but also people that come into this country. So then they begin to sell drugs, and then they get arrested and get put in the for-profit jails and policing for profit and all those good things. The problem in the inner cities, I know that black people, even black people that I've seen not address this. I know the problem, obviously, it's simple. Black men need to stop being killed. Cops need to stop overreaching and do too much force. That's the start. Also, we need money. But the real problem for me, the real problem that I see in the inner cities and I see in poor areas is money. Socioeconomic. If you paid people, if people weren't on welfare for generations because they have no choice, there is no work, there is no employment, and then throw in racial profiling and throw in all the other shit that goes on with, the institutional racism and the stuff we don't discuss and how people, the government is the only entity that it can exist that can help them. They're it. That's it. Corporations aren't moving back in there. Like Hillary Clinton said disingenuously, well, black businesses, when Donald Trump insulted the black community and black businesses and all the beautiful things in total nonsense. Totally a distraction from what's really going on. So you don't have to put money into Detroit. You don't have to put money into Chicago. You don't have to put money into New York and the 5 boroughs. You don't have to put money into Atlanta. You don't have to put money into those population bases that had Gary, Indiana. Where was the one? Toledo, Ohio. Places like that. All these places that were manufacturing bases or made auto parts or made steel workers, etc. They ended up becoming poor and impoverished in these areas, and then the drugs move in, and then the depression moves in, and then the alcohol and religion, and the only thing that doesn't come and help, the only thing that doesn't come in is the government. The only thing that doesn't come in is the United States government with $1 trillion of cash, helicopter money to send to each person to say no more rent. No more electricity. We're paying for it all. You guys work on getting this place established financially again. We're going to go into debt. We're going to take all the federal debt. We will do this for banks. We'll do this for other countries, but we won't do it for our own inner cities. And then You get Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton both saying the same thing that they've been saying. Law and order is the problem. We need federalization of troops. We need federal training of police officers. Donald Trump just wants more cops. There's no economic policy for these. So you're just going to keep cracking down until you turn them into what? Martial law war zones? It's not their fault that capitalism is capitalism. It's not their fault. They're not even enough. Poor people are always the ones throughout history, obviously, who get treated like shit. The physically disabled, the mentally disabled, the elderly, the young, the sick. They always get fucked over. The minorities always get fucked over. And now our inner cities desperately need financial help. And black men are pissed because they can't fucking find jobs, and they're racially profiled, and they're watching their brothers and cousins and uncles and friends and dads be put in jail and murdered in ridiculous numbers for their percentage of their population. And they're pissed, and they fucking should be pissed. And Americans should be saying, all of us should be yelling the same thing. It's about socioeconomics. It's about the control of the surplus, as Marx said, as Karl Marx fucking said. It all comes down to controlling the economic surplus, the surplus labor, the surplus capital that is provided from that surplus labor, and how it is distributed in our society. We don't even demand that the government helps our own citizens when they pay taxes. Every pack of cigarettes, every bottle of alcohol, every fucking magazine you buy, every gallon of gas you put in your car, every single time you buy anything at the store, it's taxed. You have a tax and tariff. You are paying taxes. Whether you're paying income tax because you're unemployed or whatever the fuck, you are paying taxes. So you get taxed all the time, and you're getting nothing back from it. And the inner city, and by the way, if we leave the inner cities for themselves, what's going to happen when this shit, and it already is, starts to spread seriously into the suburbs? And it already is, because we all know it is. What happens when it takes over the suburbs? What happens when drugs, because methamphetamines and crime and all these things are already moving into because crime only follows, it's an irony, and cops will tell you this, that crime doesn't go to the rich parts of town, it goes to the poor parts of town. It takes advantage of poor people. It takes advantage because that's the community, because they're poor. Because poor people, people that steal and want stuff come from poverty. Rich people go into Wall Street and steal money. Poor people actually, will rob you at gunpoint. And the inner cities are full of desperate fucking people. And the black people are being pointed out that they're being killed by the police because of racial profiling, but there also is poor white people being killed by the police. People that are arguing with the police, because law and order is about one thing, that's protecting the status quo. And the status quo in America is capitalism. That's it. That's what Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump both desperately are protecting, is capitalism. There is no socialism. There is no communism. There is no, she talks about, and another subscriber to my channel said something very telling too. He said that profit sharing shit is just so they can keep wages down in America. That's just another way to keep wages down. And he was absolutely right. I didn't even think of it. But and so we're being faced with this reality that we're being told one thing when it's another. It's socioeconomics. This country is in bad shape, folks, if you haven't noticed. The stock market is artificially high because of the interest rates are ridiculous right now. I mean, you literally are being paid to borrow money. So if you borrow enough of it, it's a crazy time in America. And when interest rates get bumped up, it's going to be a hard time. And forget, we are living in a bubble. Donald Trump is correct. But you can say that about capitalism at any time, that it's whenever something seems to be going well, then we are in a bubble. Because that's how capitalism works. Boom and bust cycles. You can't have a boom without a bust cycle, and vice versa. So, and you can't make a lot of money unless the stock market takes the shit, and you can't lose, and money can't be lost in massive amounts unless a lot of confidence and the stock market is extremely high. And then you go into that bust cycle, and then the Fortune 500s come in and do what they always have done since the beginning of time with capitalism. And so, and in American Wall Street capitalism particularly. So we need to be addressing socioeconomic. It's the only issue that matters. Class warfare is the only thing that matters. The only thing we should be discussing. We should be discussing how we take the surplus, the extra labor that we produce, the extra shit that we produce, the money that comes from that, how that's distributed about the world. Right now, it's given to the rich. Right now, it's given to the 0.000000001%. We need to distribute that equally amongst us, and that would solve all of our problems without raising taxes or doing anything else. So Go read some fucking Karl Marx, and I'll make more videos on this. Thank you for listening.